love chaos. I'm doing 800 things.
You didn't start doing 800.
That's right. And anytime I know I'm about to do something, I did VaynerMedia head down for 5 years to build a foundation to do things.
I always tell people this.
Hey everybody, it's Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is episode 304 of the Ask Gary V show, and I'm really excited for this next guest, and we're coming in super cold. Nikki on my team said, hey, I think Strauss should be on your show. I'm like, 100%. Being invited to a Strauss party maybe 9 years ago in the tech kind of media scene was a super highlight for me, and some of you who know me know that Ben Lair is a very good friend of mine. And earlier that, like 3 months earlier than that party, Ben and I, you know how like guys or gals get into like a meme of like something that's funny to them? Somehow a movie called Ghoulies became this like really funny thing. You know that movie? Was it? I thought it was like a horror movie. Like,
yeah, it was a little bit of both.
Here's the punchline. Somehow at Sundance, this movie, Ghoulies, which I didn't know about, but then like in this weekend, it became the most important thing in my life. So then a couple months later, we go to Strauss's house for this event or what have you. Somehow not a lot of people are left. And somehow me and Ben are somehow it gets referenced. Ghoulies, like we say something, it's like the inside joke, it's the meme. And Strauss goes, I made that movie. Which to this day is a top like 10. Strauss and I have not spent a whole lot of time together. We have a lot of mutual friends. I have an enormous amount of admiration from him from afar. I'm going to let him paint a 5-minute context of his career, and then we'll do some Q&A because I think he's going to help a lot of entrepreneurs. And then anything else, Strauss, on your mind, I'd love to know, anything that you want to talk about. But the Ghoulies thing is a top 10 moment. Like from the heat, I think everybody can associate with this. You have friends, random shit becomes something you all talk about. This was like white hot. Like I basically said the word Ghoulies 87,000 times over a 1 week period. And then 1 week later, the man who fucking greenlit the movie. It was an amazing event. I don't know if you remember that story.
I do remember the story. I am probably going to like ruin the whole thing. I'm not sure I made Ghoulies. I made Goonies or Ghoulies, and I never went to look to see which one was ours after we had this conversation.
No, but I think if you made Goonies, you would definitely know it. Goonies is fucking the greatest movie of all time.
Well, we made either Goonies or Ghoulies, but anyhow.
I think you made Ghoulies.
All right. We made the worst.
Yeah, you made Ghoulies.
Whichever one was worse,
good news,
that's the one
Strauss.
we made. Yeah.
That's the one you made.
Okay, good.
But yeah, we were not talking about Goonies, what I think is actually a top 10 movie of all time.
No, I would have remembered
Spielberg,
making any. We didn't make a Steven Spielberg movie. I barely met Steven Spielberg.
You made Ghoulies, which is a movie that nobody what's going on? You got something? Yes. Yeah, anyway, nonetheless.
That does look familiar.
Strauss, for everybody who's watching, there's a ton of entrepreneurs, a lot of business people. Why don't you give everybody like a 3-minute, like kind of comic book episode 1, who you are, your career, a little bit about you.
So on the career side, I always wanted to be in the entertainment business from growing up for no particular reason.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Boston and then New Jersey.
Yep.
And
what part of Jersey?
South Orange.
Love it. Very close to Wine Library. My wine store was in Springfield, Short Hills.
Yeah, very close.
Very close. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I went to Wesleyan undergrad. I went right to grad school out of college because I didn't want to work. And I figured a couple more years in school.
Yep.
And I was trying to figure out how to get into entertainment, and a friend of a friend helped me get my first job in entertainment, which was a summer internship at Viacom. And I worked there, I had an amazing summer, met some people. That led to my first full-time job, which was at Columbia Pictures Television in sales, which wasn't really what I had in mind. I wanted to run a movie studio, but okay, it's a good place to start.
But flat out, at that young of age, you're like, that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, I knew I wanted to run a movie studio when I was 5 years old. And
really?
Yeah, and I didn't even...
How did you even know that existed?
I didn't even watch... Like, I wasn't allowed to go to the movies, particularly. I mean,
you heard parents talking about it?
No, it was completely made up. My dad was a lawyer. So, no clue, but I was committed to it. So...
So wait, real quick, just for one more time, because I need to rewind that. You're not sure, because you're young, how it got into your zeitgeist, but you immediately became committed to it.
Yeah, I think I had some sense like that it was very glamorous,
yes,
and that you could be like...
But at 5, you cared about the girls already?
I think it was more about the money.
God, respect. One or the other. I guess wrong. Keep going.
Yeah. Little did I know.
Yes.
There are better ways to make money. Anyhow, I got recruited from Columbia to go to what was then the largest home entertainment company Vestron. It's the early days of home entertainment. That's how long ago it was. And they were launching a motion picture initiative, and I became the president of the company like 9 months later. So
How old were you at the time?
was 29. So I was
Love it.
right, basically 3
Yep.
years out of school.
Yep.
And I mean, to say that I didn't know anything is a gross understatement. I used to say, my friends were like, "Well, this is a public company," and it was the biggest independent. And the question was like, "Well, why would you be president of this company?" And my answer was, "Well, I'm definitely not competent for the job. I'm definitely glad they gave it to me." So I did that.
And at this point, for a lot of people who are listening, like these days, 29, having a big company or a big job, not insane.
Wasn't that either in
No?
the entertainment
No?
business? No.
Okay.
It's always been a business that gave young people opportunities
At-bats.
early. No, it was definitely, I mean, it was precocious, but first of all, an old person talking about what it was like to be young and successful is pathetic. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. But no, yeah, Barry Diller was in his early 30s when he was chairman of Paramount.
Yep.
So it was not at all unheard of
Understood.
for successful people. That went really well because the first picture I greenlit became the highest grossing independent film of all time, which I do remember, which was Dirty Dancing. And then
That's that.
we made a bunch of other movies. There were some that did very
Ghoulies. I remember this is
Yeah,
how this
or
conversation
not.
went down. No,
not.
you made Ghoulies.
I know you're committed to it, but I think it's just, I just don't want people like,
Look it up.
I know people are going to be, if it's not a
made
Vestron movie,
Ghoulies?
it's not a Vestron movie, like I completely made it up, and now Gary's like ruined the rest of his night.
This is like literally my top 10
So it
favorite
either was or
stories.
was not distributed by Vestron, and I just don't want to get the ugly emails saying I made that movie. How could you take credit for it? So,
By Luca.
but was it distributed by Vestron?
Who just?
Yeah, you got to figure. Or whose catalog is in now, and then I could tell you. Anyway, moving on. That went pretty well. I was recruited from there to become president of 20th Century Fox.
Go ahead.
And I was president of Fox. That was a great run. We had a whole bunch of hits. So after being in the movie business for 7 years, I really sort of revised my goals, having met
Yep.
what I thought was a very long-term goal pretty
Yep.
quickly. And I decided to revise my goals, say I really want to do something that's in entertainment, but also highly entrepreneurial. And I sort of surveyed the landscape, and I said, and this is 1993, I said, I think video games are going to become a huge entertainment business. And I went to a company called Crystal Dynamics, which was a pre-revenue video game company, as the first CEO, built that company up. And then after we'd sort of got it to critical mass, I left to do a turnaround of a huge record company back in the days when that wasn't an oxymoron. That was called BMG.
Yep.
And that went super well, took it from last place to nearly first place. It would have been first place, but 1 and 2 merged. So we were second place, but it was a great result. We had a lot of great hits and turned around the RSA label and other things. And then I revised my goals once again and said, okay, my goal now is to run a diversified media company that's supercharged by digital technology. And that was,
What year was that?
that was 01, and that was considered somewhat out there. I mean,
Yep.
people had gotten the memo on digital technology, but I was always seen as the new media person. And I kind
And
of
this was post April 2000, where things melted.
yeah,
right?
so that's right. And
And you saw that as the opportunity.
I saw it as an opportunity. I mean, most people thought it was a terrible time. My view is there's never a good time. There's no time when you're starting a business and you look around and say, "Wow, this is an awesome time." It's always hard.
That's right.
But it was the time when I was ready, and I was done working for other people, and so we started what has become ZMC, and we had just it's always fun to tell these stories. So we had no offices, no capital, no people, not really a business plan. And I started the business with $300,000 of my own money. So for the last 18 years, we've been building up that company. And today we have assets in the many billions of dollars and very little debt, a great deal of cash. And we own a number of leading companies in the media, communications, and entertainment business. Well, our biggest company is Take-Two Interactive, which is a leading video game company, the third largest, with titles like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, NBA 2K, Borderlands, BioShock, Civilization, and many others. We own, with partners, 9 Story, which is a leading Canadian-based animation company, great hits and great titles. We have an investment in a company called Dynasty Sports. We own IT Renew, which is a so-called ITAD company. It's a pretty arcane part of the data center space. We're big believers in the growth of data. We own Canela, which is a leading direct response television advertising company, AdThrive, a digital advertising company, and a number of other interests.
And what's happening with your day to day these days within that ecosystem?
My day to day is I'm a partner at ZMC and I'm the chief executive of Take Two. So, but Take Two is a part of ZMC. So I have the luxury that I'm able to both invest and operate in the media business, and I am able to, our entire thesis is based around the notion that technology will continue to transform and inform media and entertainment, and we only invest behind the thesis. And the reason that we've never suffered a loss and we've been able to grow a very significant business from nothing, at least so far, is because we don't look at what's happening tomorrow or next quarter or in a year. We look 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And so far, we haven't gotten it wrong. So in 2001, people in our business, and we did have access to capital or we couldn't have bought these companies. People in our business were buying newspapers, consumer magazines. And that was sexy and appealing. We didn't do those deals because we thought print was compromised. Of course, we were right. We did, however, buy an online market research company before that was sexy, and obviously took over a video game company in 2007 that was very nearly bankrupt. The perception was that company, was with no chance of making it. That company's market cap today is about $10 billion.
What's kind of most exciting you right now as you look out 5, 10, 15 years?
I think this is just the beginning. So for a lot of people think that, and I just heard this at a conference, we've kind of established what the internet can do. We've kind of established what digital technology can do. It's all going to settle down. And now, the move forward in digitally driven media will be evolutionary, not revolutionary. I completely disagree. I think the next 30 or 40 years will be the most exciting time that the media business has ever seen. And you will see it in every part, whether it's B2B, which we're in, or B2C, which we're in, or pure entertainment, which we're in, or infrastructure, which we're in. And the reason I believe in that is several fold. First is history, right? Because I think
but honestly, right?
Yeah,
that's the answer.
Yeah, in the 1880s, the head of the U.S. Patent Office said, "I think pretty much everything has been invented."
That's it.
So
you just know what humans do.
Yeah, we just keep inventing.
Either their framework of perspective doesn't allow them to historically understand the context, or they are financially invested in the outcome that comes out of their mouth.
And often, frankly, emotionally invested.
100%.
Because everyone's financially invested in staying ahead of change. It's more emotionally invested. Change scares a lot of people.
But I think you'll appreciate this, right? Like, to me, I'm, of course, financially invested in all the things I do. However, because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm putting my money where my mouth is versus hoping that the thing maintains for the next 27 months because I need to sell my stock at 27 months and go do what I want to do personally after that.
Yeah, what a horrible way to live. By the way, whenever people give me a story like that, I'm like, see, here's the problem with that plan. You could walk outside and get hit by a truck tomorrow. You got to be careful about delaying things for that. So anyway, I think, if you believe in Moore's Law, which I do, you believe that whatever data consumption you want to project for 5 years from now, aggregate data consumption, you're wrong. It will be more.
Couldn't agree more.
You want to project what devices will look like. So Nick's holding an iPhone. I don't know which one. Looks like a 9.
If it's mine, it's new.
Or a 10. So that form factor, in 10 years, we'll look back on that form factor and we will think it's really funny. Looking at a couple cameras in here, these form factors will look really funny in 10 years.
I just don't understand how people don't understand. It's history.
Right. So
you know how rad as fuck the Walkman was? I know you do.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it was just like the phrase.
You couldn't believe it.
The Razor phone was the single most important status item. Seth, you're old enough. I'm impressed. Right. People are unbelievably confused about how it actually works.
So what we do, is we look at the world and we try to think about where that's going to be in 5 or 10 years. And then, to the point about preservation versus, innovation or disintermediation, we got to be the ones to disintermediate ourselves.
100%.
And that's a very hard task. But if you're worried about cannibalization in your core business, you should be the one cannibalizing your core business, or someone else will do it for you.
Something I said to a buddy a long time ago that I use a lot, it was the first time I said it, and I'll never forget. I said, look, I'd rather put myself out of business than have somebody else do it for me.
Exactly.
It's exactly right.
Yeah. And when I got to the record business in '94, the first thing we did was launch websites, which was innovative,
Right.
and start thinking about how we can do digital distribution. By the way, we didn't do such a great job, but we were trying really hard.
Yeah, I mean,
So
in the
we
early
weren't
days,
surprised
right.
when the Napsters came along. We were prepared for it, and we were
How do you
best
think-
positioned than
how do you
anyone.
think about blockchain? Think about Bitcoin and all that stuff. Blockchain.
Look, I think the notion of a widely distributed network, for computing is fine. The problem with the blockchain technology is, so far anyway, for you to create the additional nodes, you have to create an incentive for people to create the nodes.
That's right.
And so far, the incentive has been currency.
That's right.
And so if you have something that on one hand has no owner and is highly distributed, on the other hand has no built-in incentive, bit of a question. The internet had a built-in incentive, which is I want to express myself,
Yep.
or I want to transact, or I want to have you come see something.
It was human.
But it's hard to know in the absence of currency how you're going to make the blockchain work. And then when companies talk about it, I'm convinced, when big companies start, people talk to us in the game space about it all the time. When I apply blockchain technology to the video game business, I'm like, please tell me how that works. And it's not sarcastic.
I get
I'm
it.
very interested.
You just know that they're putting hyperbole around a statement.
And
I agree with you.
And so
100%.
right now, do I believe in cryptocurrency? I don't. I know there are plenty of people who do. My attitude is I believe in speculations. They exist all the time.
Of course.
But anytime a so-called currency goes from $10 to $20,000 to $3,600 in the space of my recent memory, that's not a currency. That's something else. It's not a currency. And for people who transact outside a legitimate economy, they don't really care because their margins are so huge that what they care about is private transactions. But for the rest of us, I have a really high margin in most of my businesses, but I don't have a sufficient margin to offset that kind of currency swing.
I understand.
So I'm not a believer at all in cryptocurrency.
What about sports betting?
I'm a huge believer in sport. Well, first of all, it's a little late in the day since the U.S. government already said we believe in it.
Yes.
We're taking it from the federal government saying it's okay to the states regulating it in a way that works be complicated. And you've got a very powerful...
I grew up in the liquor business.
Right, so
between cannabis and sports betting, two things in the macro I deeply believe in.
Right, but micro's different. And so you've got massive lobbies, very powerful lobbies, who've proven, by the way, that they can affect legislation of late. Who have
not just of late.
Right, but in the casino business, so what do I believe? That if you're already in the casino business in the U.S., will you be able to engage in broadly distributed, digitally driven sports betting? Yes. Do I believe that we, as a non-regulated, non-gaming company, can take our sports titles and turn them into gaming opportunities? It would be wonderful to believe that, and I'd be, if I were in the business of promoting our security publicly, I would say yes. I think the answer is that the opportunity may exist, but there are a lot of regulatory hurdles.
Yep.
There are obviously far fewer of them internationally.
Talk to me about... Actually, I'm going to ask you a question that I'm curious about. So I've been really enjoying, similar to blockchain and cannabis and sports betting, the notion of esports teams. Watching a lot of people deploy the logic around something is, this is where I get interested. I think this is from afar, and then, it's very clear to me listening to you. There's a lot of things that we cross over and agreeing on. I'm fascinated by people's inability to synthesize things in lieu of what they hope or emotionally or financially want to happen. Watching people deploy esports strategies in today's environment's fascinating because much like what you did to whoever says to you, we're going to do this blockchain thing, I always say the same thing. I'm like, please explain to me why you think League of Legends is like the Major League Baseball system.
Right.
And when you get into even a basic first question, and you watch people dance in front of you, now that I've got a better framework of how you process, and it's probably why I like you, what's your take on the esports ecosystem around the IP holders versus how the teams think they're going to conglomerate the power?
So we're in the business, right?
Yep.
So we eat our own cooking.
Yes.
But our view is that, like major sports, we believe in esports. There are 250 million people who watch esports. There are a whole bunch of people who
You're
play.
preaching.
So for sure it's real. It is, however, the legal $1 billion business.
Yep.
And in our world, video game business alone, never mind the media business, never mind the sports business, video game business is $130 billion a year currently.
Yep.
Esports is $1 billion.
Yep.
It's a teeny little business, and the bulk of the market is League of Legends. And I say that as someone who's a competitor. We have the NBA 2K League.
Yep.
So I think there'll be somewhere between 3 and 7
Where'd you grow up?
So, yeah, around, well, in New York.
Love it. Keep going.
New York. New York. So, one day I sat down with my sister. We actually opened up a liquor store.
I know a lot about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so...
How's it going?
You know, I do it.
So wait, break this down for me. You and your sister just sit down in the sofa in the living room, like, let's open a liquor store, and boom, you open a liquor store?
We've always kind of thought about it,
Okay,
and
good.
actually a place opened up.
That went out of
And
business
like,
and you just took it over.
No, we just started from scratch. We didn't know
Love
shit
it.
about
I love it.
liquor stores.
So how's it going?
So, it's doing not so good.
Why?
Not so good.
Why? What's your hot take? What's your early? How long have you had it?
5 years.
What's your so not your hot take, your like educated guess. 5 years in, what's the struggle in your opinion?
To be honest with you, there's a lot of things. Just, you know,
Monday.com is a platform to manage any team and any project. Marketing campaigns, classic project management, sales pipelines, creative productions, anything. We'll start with a board. Here you can track everything your team is working on. Columns are completely customizable, so you can track what's important to you. Everything is visual. See who's in charge of what and easily prioritize. Upload files and get quick approvals and feedback. Views let you see the information in your board in different ways. Make sure projects don't overlap. Or see the breakdown of progress. Whoa. If you want to see the bigger picture, use dashboards. You as a manager can get key insights and metrics from all your projects in one place. You can even broadcast dashboards around the office. Monday.com integrates with your favorite tools and combines everything your team is working on into one easy-to-use collaborative space. Managing your team is now easier than ever. So go to Monday.com and start your free trial today.